Thank you, Paulie. A quick update on stories we've been following on this show. We cover them because most media outlets don't. We have a new grooming gang investigation, or rather the reopening of an old one. No, not Telford, Oldham, Rotherham, Rochdale, Oxford, Banbury, Aylesbury, but this time in Hull. 3 years ago, the Humberside police arrested 34 men, but the arrests went nowhere. There were no charges. By the way, look at that picture The Independent uses. A young girl slumped on the floor in silhouette, suffused in apparent sadness. Very nice, very tasteful, very limpid, very oblique, very subtly and artistically lit. And it's great stuff if you want to win some artistic cliche of the year competition. But it gets in the way of the ugly reality of towns up and down England, which is why I prefer to talk to the poor, wretched girls themselves, who aren't posing for any nice artistic pictures like that. Instead, they're being sacrificed on the altar of diversity abstractions. They're gang raped, they're dangled off balconies, they're urinated on, they're doused in petrol. And if you have the misfortune to get pregnant and it inconveniences your groomer, then you die in a mysterious car accident or your house is burned down. The girls are what matter here. If you're more concerned about the sensitivities of Pakistani community rape gang members, your moral compass has gone screwy. Another update on the big shut-up, the increasing intolerance of social media for anything that dissents from the official narrative, no matter how crapped out that narrative is. Freedom of speech is going to be particularly important in the months ahead, given the number of people likely to be freezing to death because of insane government policies. So it would be nice to be able to talk openly and honestly about things. Vicky Spit has appeared regularly on this show for some months now. She lost the love of her life to the AstraZeneca vaccine. And a few weeks back, Vicky earned a rare distinction. She became the first person in the United Kingdom to have her loss formally acknowledged by the British government and to be financially compensated for it. Not a lot, 120,000 quid, which is derisory for the loss of Xeon and the upending of her life, but it is nevertheless official recognition by the state that these vaccines can kill. Vicky is devastated by grief. It's well over a year. Not a day goes by that she doesn't wake up missing Xeon. Nevertheless, some totalitarian goon at Twitter decided to add insult to injury and further traumatize Vicky. In fact, to insult her grief and her widowhood by cancelling her Twitter account. As her fellow vax victim, Claire Hibbs, whom you've also seen on this show, Claire says Twitter is victimizing and shutting up a widow. That's right. What sad, dead husk of a human being does that? Well, Twitter does. And don't say, oh, well, it's just the algorithm. No, it's not. Somewhere in the bowels of this evil organization, a flesh and blood creature has signed off on that decision. I'd like to know who it is, by the way, but we didn't get any response back from the twits at Twitter. Get used to a lot more of this because the pseudo-conservative Party is still pushing its insane, self-destructive online crap bill that will empower all the tosspots who are hot for even more of the big shut-up. And like most of the stuff that's screwed up right now, this isn't difficult and it isn't expensive. All the stupid party has to do in this instance is not shoot itself in the foot. Do you think you guys could try doing that for once? GBNews tries to cover the topics that matter, the lack of a functioning health service, that's pretty basic, isn't it? The lack in any meaningful statistical sense of a police force, that's pretty basic too. The conscious demolition of the economy with its all too obvious consequences, double-digit inflation, and the reduction of a third of the population to poverty, if predictions hold up. Oh, and the sacrifice of the elderly. Were you reluctant to get the jabber, jabber, jabber last year? Did they call you a granny killer? Well, we're going to be killing grannies this winter on an industrial scale. You better hope that global warming is real, because if it's a regular winter, you're going to freeze. That so-called price cap is going up like a Gauguin at a Christie's auction. Do I hear 4,400. Why, yes, I do. How about 5,500? Yeah, no problem. 6,600? Yes, you, sir, at the back. Am I bid 7,700? Yes, I am. Look at that. 7,700. How about, I tell you what, how about 8,000 quid for your utility bill? 4 million homes could face energy bills of £700 a month from October. There you go. 700 quid a month is 8,400 a year. That's 8,000 guineas, in fact. 8,000 guineas. And that's for lower income customers with prepayment meters. Lovely. On yesterday's show, Kelvin MacKenzie said it was time to man up and deal with the pain by wearing a sweater. Or 2 sweaters, if you can afford 2 sweaters. And I received quite a bit of pushback on that from around the planet. Yes, back in the war, people took the pain. They shivered and they ate lousy food rations and all the rest of it. And yes, Boris says we're at war now. And in fact, the lockdown was sold to us as wartime measures too. If it's a war, it's a funny kind of war because it's a war Western governments are waging on their own populations through public policy that does nothing except punish their own citizenry. After Kelvin's advice on investing in knitwear, one of our American viewers, Mike from New York State, responded, "The answer you should be giving is, we will stop the crazy and stupid policies that are inflicting pain and suffering on people and not deal with it, you plebs." Any chance of stopping the crazy and stupid policies? Over the weekend, the German agriculture minister, who is a member of the Green Party, a, quote, secular Muslim, and a vegetarian. So that's like the trifecta of Eurocool right there in one man. The German agriculture minister gave an interview to the Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung in which he said as follows: "Hunger ist kein Argument for Abstriche bei Biodiversität und Klimaschutz," which means hunger is not an argument for compromising biodiversity and climate protection. Gotcha, mein Herr. If you don't get your COVID booster and you kill Granny, shame on you. But if our lunatic climate policies kill Granny, well, it's all in a good cause. Good to have it spelled out for us. These sick utopians are doing it deliberately. We talk about the domestic energy bills, but every business, as we heard yesterday from Finland, on that shutdown of toilet paper manufacture. Every business needs energy too. Pub owners have calculated that if they pass the increased cost on to customers, you'd be paying £15 a pint. If you're a 14 pints a night bloke, as William Hague once famously claimed to be, that's 210 quid, not including the pork scratchings and pickled eggs.